Thank you for the time and opportunity given to me. On behalf of Maria Crescentiana Titu, from the 11th Social Tree, we present a scientific article about culture and the title of the process of making traditional house for the Zerbu community. Before presenting the work of this scientific article, let us increase our praise and gratitude to God Almighty, because it is only for His blessing and grace that this article can finally be built in due time. Abstract. A traditional house in general is a house that is built in same way from generation to generation and has had little on the chain. A traditional house is also a building that has specially characteristic as for shelter by a certain ethnic group. The traditional house or sao is a traditional house that is often found in Ngada district. In making this traditional house includes several processes from start to finish and the function of the part of the traditional house. This research as literature study method, namely getting information from books and internet related to traditional house. The purpose of this research is to find more information about the process of making traditional house so that we don't forget the process. The result of this study make us know more about traditional house, from the process to the function of the traditional house. Keyword custom home. Chapter 1 Introduction 1.1 Background. Traditional houses in general are houses that are built in the same way from generation to generation without experiencing the slight change. Traditional house can also be said to the house that were built with the regard to social function and function as well as the culture meaning behind their patterns of culture. A traditional house is also a building that has special characteristics that are acted as a shelter by certain tribes. The traditional house is one of the high culture representations in cults. In particular, traditional house are most found in Ngada Regency. The shape is in the form of a house on style and all the building materials are made of wood. This traditional house is as a center for customer activities. A traditional house is also one of the basic human needs in the form of microcosmos that function as a protection against animals and criminal weather, describes as well as a place for family and work to be formed a symbol of acculturation of social, economic, and culture status and other functions. The recent author raised the title of the process of making the Zero Book Community Traditional House is because he wanted to know more about the process of making the traditional house of the traditional Zero house and the function of its traditional house and the traditional house of Jerebu. The function of the traditional house itself. 1.2 Problem formulation. 1. What What is a traditional house? 2. How is the process of making a traditional house? 3. The function of traditional house. 4. The function of each part of the traditional house. 3.1 Purpose 1. To see what a traditional house is. 2. To be see from the process of making a traditional house. 3. To see the function of traditional house. 4. To see the function of each part the traditional house. Chapter 2. Theoretical basis. 2.1 Definition of a traditional house. A traditional house is a building with a structure, method of manufacture, form, and function, as well as a variety of decoration that has its own characteristic space down from generation to generation and can be asked to embrace the needs of life activities be resident the surroundings. Traditional houses were built in the same way by several residents who previously experienced no or light change, so that the traditional houses were based on existing tradition in the community. A traditional house is a building that has specially prepared as a place to live by a certain ethnic group. The traditional house is one of the high culture presentation in a community. Tribe or site, a traditional house is an expression of the form of house made by humans, which is one of the elements of culture that grows or develops together with the within or the rhythm of culture in society. A traditional house or sao is a building that is built of wood and becomes a shelter for all members of the house and a place for all culture activities to be abound. The traditional house is an important component of the physical element that reflect the culture and tendency of culture characteristics that are formed from traditional societies. A traditional house is a work of art by traditional actor. A traditional house is building with a structure made of manufacture, form, and function, as well as decorative features that have its own characteristics, done from generation to generation and can be used to carry out life activities by the surrounding population. Chapter 3 Discussion 3.1 What is a traditional house? In general, it can be defined that a traditional house is a house that is built in the same way from generation to generation and without or minimal change. Traditional houses are one of the high culture responses in a community and become as basic human need in the form of micro position that function to process again whether start and criminal descriptions, as well as being a place for family formation and a place to rest in a comfortable place. A traditional house is a building that has special characteristics as, as a place to live by a certain nation. A traditional house is a built with a structured way of acting from and function as well as decoration that has its own characteristics, is passed down from generation to generation and can be asked to carry out live activities by the surrounding population. In particular, adat or better known among the community as Sao. Pajeta Neju Bulutulu. The number 30 is a symbol of the dear stakes of human life that gives hope and a moment of eternity, namely a double scan as the peak of human life glory. 3.2. What is the process of making the traditional house of the Zerebu community? The process of making a traditional house, the most best is 1. Sepakolo, or prepare a measuring instrument made of bamboo. 2. Kakolo. The ceremony is carried out as the beginning of the process of making traditional house. Gabe Pukaju. The ceremony to eradicate food short was what has been taken for new traditional house. Materials that is relative to be believed that people have taken anything that has been taken for house growing materials of such it will bring bad luck to residents and also members of traditional house tribal house. 4. Bama Ngarkaju. The Sao material has been sacred as a manifestation or personification of the ancestor of the members of tribe or member of the Sao to be built. 5. Veti. Veti is a process for sculpting or relief or traditional symbol of the Ngada people. 6. Tore Ngavukaju. Bring all the Sao materials from the final preparation art to the village. 7. Tereleke. The event is the sacrifice of animal sacrifice pig. In order to purify all the materials that will be built, especially leke as basis material, as well avoiding the eskimo. 8. Mula leke is the installation of 4 poles of Sao. Leke made of wood with the help of measuring instrument made of bamboo. Kills Surunuba. 9. Seatenga. Tenga is the large connection beam between the leke. Seatenga is the installation of large beams to connect earth between leke. 10. Dolu. Determine whether or not the leke must be installed with water in the middle of tenga. 11. Sokaleke. Sokaleke is basically a proclamation or statement from the Sao owners or tribal members to the public regarding the abolition of tribal members and the process that I have gone through with the state and in building their Sao. 12. Rami Ube. Installation of the Sao Ube is worn after that the door or pene Sao in the order. 30. Wae Sao. Giving a roof for a traditional house or traditional, the housing is usually made of alang-alang. 14. Tegesua Sao. This take is a further process carried out after the construct Out of the roof of the traditional house is complete. 15. Custom house party. Of the event is the conclusion of the new traditional house, saying that this traditional house is declared held in accordance with the customary prophecies to be inhabited, be answered. 3.3 Custom House Function 1. As a tribal identity. 2. As a track record of past culture. 3. As a symbol of philosophy. 4. As a residence. 5. As a place for customer event. 6. As a museum. 3.4 Part of the Ngada traditional house. 1. Tidak bebas. Usually used for casual activities such as mother, weaving or taking care of children, and has a function as a arena for receiving guests. 2. Tidak unik. It is a living room that is as a resting place for family members and a cooking room. Tidorne can also be used to hold meetings and a place for family congregations. 3. One. It is a courtroom that has a function as a place from traditional rituals, the residence of the ancestor, a bed for the head of the household suit, and a place for cooking. Chapter 4 Closing 4.1 Closing. A traditional house is a building that has the characteristics of being as a place to live by a certain ethnic group. The traditional house is one of the has representatives of a tribal community society. In Ngada district, the traditional house or is building whose building is made of wood and becomes a shelter for all members of the house and as a place for all customary or cultural activities to be carried out. 4.2 Recommendation. I hope that this scientific article can be useful for anyone who read it, and for those who read this article helpful, they can add insight into culture and keep develop culture. And for the sake of perfection of this article, I need criticism and suggestions from various parties. References 1. Wikipedia. 2. Arka Al-Abrar, October 5, 2015. 3. Alias Zulfikar, October 13, 2020. 4. Sprintarm.com ID. 5. Site 2004. 6. Media.com. Thank you.